Hey guys, welcome back to my NFL prediction videos. Today we are doing quarterback rushing rankings, and this is just a video that really I made for myself. I don't expect many people to watch this. I'm surprised that you're even looking at it. Hello, 18 to 24-year-old male from the United States of America. That's where 99.9% of my people watching this come. Anyways, this is going to be, I'm ranking every single NFL quarterback based on how well they rushed. And the stats I have right here, I have the number of times they rushed, I have how many yards they had, and I have their average, and I have how many touchdowns they have. And the reason that I have like the attempts, how many times they've rushed, is so that I could like look at the touchdowns. And it really just helps. If someone's got a great average and a touchdown, that tells you they probably only, and they only have one attempt. That's different than someone who has a great average and a few touchdowns and they've got like 40 attempts. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started with number 32nd. These are like basically immobile QBs. You don't want these. You want them to throw the ball. They better be good at throwing the ball, or else they're just trash. And we've got Drew Brees. And once again, the reason that I just have the name of the team and not the name of the players are because some of their names are pretty freaking long. Like Ben Roethlisberger. How do you expect me to write that all? So I just write down the team. You should know. If you're listening to football that you're watching this video, then you probably know everyone. But the reason, the Saints last year he had -4 yards on 9 attempts, and he did have a touchdown. But I'm just saying, when you have -4 yards on the season, that's terrible. He's the only quarterback who has negative yards. And in 31st, we've got Jared Stidham, a rookie from a few years back. This is, of course, his numbers from when he was in college. This is not from last year. All these numbers are taken from the last time they really played. So the last time that they played more than 6 games, I'm taking this from. Because if they only played 1 game, they're probably not going to be rushing very much. Anyway, so Jared Stidham, he only got 10 yards in his. He had 3 touchdowns, but he only got 10 yards on 72 attempts. That's just a weird stat. Because right now, 72 attempts, 10 yards, and 3 touchdowns, which tells me that a lot of times he's just trying to run and failing. I don't know how you only get 10 yards. It also tells me that his touchdowns are probably on the goal line. I don't know. The stats are weird, but no one else has 0. At least he doesn't have -4. All right, in 30th, we've got Teddy Bridgewater. This one actually surprised me because he seems like a quarterback who probably could run. He's pretty athletic. If he wanted to, he probably could take off, but he didn't do that much last year. He only did 28 attempts, but he only had a 1.1 yards average and no touchdowns. And 1.1 yards, So this one is ranking by the rushing yards, he only has a 1.1 yards per average, which tells me that he's not rushing very much, and when he is, he's probably sliding like crazy or running right out of bounds. And he also has no touchdowns, so that means all his 1-yarders aren't from right up near the goal. So it's kind of confusing. All right, and we've got Jimmy Garoppolo. This is another one that surprised me. And he actually had 46 attempts last year, which tells me that he was running pretty consistently. This is 46 around average with all these guys. He did have a 4-yard average, but he only had 1 touchdown, which is not very good, which is why, he's 29th. But, I feel like with a 4-yard average, if he ran a lot more, he probably could be a weapon. But, still 46. When you run 46 times and only get 1 touchdown, that's not looking very good. And in 28th, these are still quarterbacks that you want to run. It's Jared Goff, same division, right up there. This is Jared Goff right here. He only ran 33 times for a 1.2-yard average, but out of the 33 times he ran, he did have 2 touchdowns, which is a big improvement upon Jimmy Garoppolo, which is why he is above him. Moving on to 27th. We've got Tom Brady. We all know him. This is probably because, he's old. He's almost 45 at this point. no 45-year-old is going to be good. I mean, the fact that he is 27th and he's like 45, 44, I mean, that'd be like 30, 43. He's in his 40s and he's not dead last. That tells you something right there. I mean, he's above a rookie. Well, he's above someone in there. I mean, he's above some young people. I'm talking about Jared Stidham. So, I mean, that's pretty big achievement. Most 45-year-olds would be way below Drew Brees. All right, and in 26th, you got Sam Darnold. Honestly, Sam Darnold might be the worst player in the league right now. I mean, I had him as the worst quarterback, and now he's 26th rushing. It would kind of save him if he was like really, really good at rushing. I mean, he freaking could run like every single time. He had like a 10-yard average, some crap. But I mean, he's a terrible quarterback in my opinion, and use stats to find my opinion. And I mean, let's look at his rushing yards. Shall we? Haven't said a single stat. Barely. He had 1.9 yards per game. Not yards per game. Yards per attempt, which is better than some people below him. And he did have 2 touchdowns with 33 attempts, which is kind of the same as I think it was like Jared Goff. I don't know. So he's better than Tom Brady, but I mean, he's still not very good. And here we go. We've got Kirk Cousins. This guy's surprising. He's been in like the league for like 12 years. Kirk Cousins he's a veteran. I mean, people don't consider him like that, but I do. I mean, he only ran 31 times, but he did have a touchdown in that. He did go 60. He did only have 2 average. So you could definitely make an argument for him to go back somewhere in this area, but he has a better average than these people. He does have a touchdown with less attempts. So, I mean, it also shows you that a lot of times when these guys have like bad numbers, they also have a lot of attempts, which tells me that they probably don't need to be running. I mean, you see Kirk Cousins, he only ran like 30 times. That's probably because he knows that he's not good at it. Now, these are guys who are like, yeah, they run sometimes, but I mean, they don't do anything spectacular. I mean, they're never really good. And on 34th, we've of course got let me find it. We of course got Phillip Rivers. This is another guy who's old, and he only ran 12 times last year. He had a 2.4 average, though, which is better than the people before him. So this is another guy who knows that he's not built for running, so he doesn't do it. He doesn't have any touchdowns, of course. I don't think any of the guys behind him would have a touchdown with only 12 attempts. But, I mean, if he can get some places. And in 23rd, we've got Derek Carr. Some more, like, old guys up here. We're having guys who are nearing the end of their career. Although, for all we know, Phillip Rivers is going to win 15 Super Bowls. We don't know. I don't really care. All right, we've got the Raiders. He has a 3 average, and in 27 attempts, he has 2 touchdowns. So this is pretty. I mean, he has an average of 3 yards per run, per carry, whatever, which is better than, I think, almost everyone except for like one person behind him. And he has 2 touchdowns with only 27 attempts, which is much better than everyone behind him. So, I mean, applause to Derek Carr. He's not very good, but I mean, he can run. Okay, the guys behind him is just like, don't. Take the sack. No, of course not. Like, throw the ball away. Don't try to run. And then you got Matthew Stafford, of course. You can see him right there. And I mean, this is another guy you'd expect him to be able to run. He has a 3.3 average again, and he only has run 20 times for no touchdowns, of course. If he had a touchdown, he'd be somewhere like up here. But I mean, just another guy who's not running very much, probably because he knows he can't. And then you've got Big Ben. He's higher on the QB rushing than he was in the actual quarterbacks. That's because I'm surprised. I mean, Big Ben, he was moving and grooving, which this could also get worse because he got into a big injury. I mean, this is, of course, from 2 years back. In 31 attempts, he had 3 touchdowns. We're getting up there. And he had 3.2 yards per carry. Hey, that's pretty nice. Those are some good stats. We're finally starting to see, okay, man. I mean, if you don't see anyone open and you have a wide open lane, maybe you take off with it. And then I've got Aaron Rodgers. More old guys. I don't know why those 3 lines just popped up right there. Let me just cover that up. I mean, the Packers, Aaron Rodgers, he ran 46 times, and he only got 1 touchdown, but he also had an average of 4, and he had 183 yards last year, which tells me that, at his age, that's great. He's still running, he's still moving, and he's in the top 20. And now we've got Carson Wentz. You really don't want this guy running, because every time he runs, he freaking gets his chest blown open. He's only got a 3.9 average, and he ran 62 times last year. And the thing that's keeping him up here, he only had 1 touchdown, but he ran 62 times and maintained a 3.9 average, when some of these guys are running like 12 times and only maintaining a 1.9 average. So that tells me that, he's getting almost like on first down, he can get you halfway there on average if he's running. So he knows that he can run, okay? So, he is running. But, it's not good enough to get you past 19th. Sorry, man. We got Mitchell Trubisky. Not a very good quarterback, and he's only a meh runner. 4 average, though. That's okay. He had 193 yards, almost 200. He had 2 touchdowns. That's great. So, this is still like, if you see an open lane, you can run, but I'd rather you just throw it territory. Of course, I don't know if you'd want Trubisky to throw the ball for you. Anyways, we got Matt Ryan coming up next. 4.3 average. He only ran 34 times and had 147 yards when he did it, and he got a touchdown for it. And, a lot of you are like, oh, he only got 1 touchdown. Why is he all the way up at 17th? Well, you've also got to look at how well he is running. He is a quarterback. He's not going to get you a touchdown unless you're already inside close to the end zone. He's not like a wide receiver. All right. We got an epic picture of Ryan Tannehill right there. And then 16th comes Ryan Tannehill. He had that one game, I think it was against the Jaguars, where he ran in for 2 touchdowns. I don't know why I remember that. I didn't watch it. Not a fan of either of those teams. But hey. Ryan Tannehill, where has he hit on my notes? Here he is. He's got a 4.3 average, and he ran 43 times. He had 185 yards. That's pretty good. And he also had 4 touchdowns in only 43 attempts. That's pretty good, man. This is like, all right, man, we don't mind if you run. You can get us places. You've gotten touchdowns before. If you need to run, just do it. That's where that's where we're entering right now. And entering the top 15, we've got the man, the myth, the legend himself, Gardner Minshew. He ran 67 times, and he maintained a 5.1 average, which is pretty good for, a freaking running back. So, the fact that he did it is pretty good. And I'll be wondering, oh, well, you're praising him, saying that, he's better than a lot of the running backs you've looked like. Not better than a lot of them, but better than some of the running backs you've looked at, better than some of the bad ones. Why is he all the way down at, 15th? Well, it's because he doesn't have any touchdowns, and he's ran 67 times last year. And I know I just said that doesn't have anything to do with it, but still, that also says that he doesn't have any touchdowns, and touchdowns are a stat. I know I'm confusing you. I'm doing it on purpose. No, I'm not. And then we got 14th. We got Baker Mayfield. A lot of these guys that are entering now, they can't throw very well. We're talking about Gardner Minshew. We're talking about Baker Mayfield. They're at the bottom end. They're on the wrong end of the stick with throwing. But when they run, they're pretty good. This is like, all right, you go out there and run. We're not going to be upset if you run. All right? He had a 5 average, and here's the kicker, though. He ran 28 times, and he had 3 touchdowns, which is amazing, way above everyone else. He's getting touched. He knows when to run. He's running into the end zone not most of his runs, but a pretty good amount. And now we have Joe Burrow. The rookie himself, of course, he's going to be good. He only has a 3.2 average, but he did have 5 touchdowns in college. That's pretty good. I don't have much to say about him because, he is a rookie. He's farther down than he would be because he is a rookie. If he had that kind of stats and he was like a veteran or something, he'd be like at 10th. Not very much higher, but higher. And now we've got Drew Lock. I had him in the bottom end of quarterbacks. But again, he can move, probably because he was a rookie last year. Now, here's a big thing that surprised me. I mean, look, he, in 55 attempts, has 6 touchdowns and 3.2 average. Now, I know what you're saying, oh, this is like normal for quarterbacks. He only played in 5 games. And he got 6 touchdowns, which tell me he's getting at least one. I don't know if he did, but he's getting like around a touchdown. At one game he had multiple touchdowns. That also tells me he's running 11 times per game. That's almost as many times as Phillip Rivers ran the entire year. Which tells me that he's really confident in the way he runs, which could be bad, but it's seeming to work out. I mean, he's got 6 touchdowns from it. All right, and then just outside of the top 10, we've got Dwayne Haskins. He had a 5.1 average, and he only ran 20 times. So he ran 20 times, and he had 101 yards. The reason that he's down in 11th is because he didn't get any touchdowns. I know because I personally am a Redskins fan that one time he ended up at the 1, and then he threw an interception. We're not going to talk about that. Entering the top 10. Let's get that back up there. Entering the top 10. I'm not perfect. We've got Ryan Fitzpatrick. This man is actually insanely underrated. I had him, I think, at like 12th for quarterbacks. I mean, when I look at the stats, he's not that bad. And look at the team he had around him, and he wasn't that bad. That tells me that he's pretty good. I mean, I feel like it seems like he's at the end of his career, but I mean, NFL like GM people with bad quarterbacks, they probably keep their eye on Ryan Fitzpatrick. This isn't the end of his career unless he retires. But I mean, let's talk about his stats. He has a 4.5 average. He ran 54. Look, he ran 54 times and got 4 touchdowns, which is great. And I know 4.5 average isn't that good, but I mean, for the Dolphins, that's great. You can make an argument for him to be worse. And Russell Wilson, all the way down at 9th. I had him at 4th in quarterbacks, I think. And that's... I mean, when I was making this list, I did not expect to put him at 9th. I expected for him to be possibly 1st. I mean, you already know who is in 1st. I'm not going to say it in case you don't. But if you don't, have you watched a football game ever? Just saying. Let's talk about him. He had 75 attempts, so obviously he thinks he still got it. And he's only got a 4.6 average, but keep in mind he did run a lot. And he only got 3 touchdowns. So really, you could make an argument for him to be lower, but also it's just the fact that, he's Russell Wilson. He is one of the big things that he's known for is running. All right, now these are guys you're like, run, go. I mean, you could also say this for Russell Wilson, but if you look up and then the first 3 seconds you don't see anybody, run. We're okay with you running. We feel happy when you're running. When you don't run, we get scared. Of course, that's never true, but still. These guys are good. And 8th, we got Tyrod Taylor. I don't see why he is a backup. He took the Bills to the playoffs after they hadn't been in there in so long, and he almost won a playoff game with the Bills. And then they got rid of him. He goes to the Browns, and he does pretty good with the Browns. And then he gets shipped off to freaking Chargers. He looks good when he plays in the preseason, and then now he's going to be starting, and I have a feeling he's going to prove everyone that he's good. But we're talking about him running right now. Why am I talking about this? Let's find his stats. And, I mean, he ran 84 times the last time he played. I didn't write down what year I got these stats from, but I'm pretty sure it's back when he played for the Bills, so it's not that long ago. And he had 4 touchdowns, which is good. And in 84 attempts, he had 427 yards and maintained a 5.1 average. That's good. That's good enough. I mean, Tyrod Taylor's run. We just want you out there too. We can get Justin Herbert on the field. Just take off if you need to. And so we got Patrick Mahomes. This is another guy that's throw it if you want, but we're definitely okay with you running. I mean, this guy, you can't sack him. He doesn't get sacked. He can run all the way back 50 yards, turn around, run all the way back, and run 70 yards for a touchdown, which I know mathematically makes no sense, but he would somehow make it happen. The guy ran only 43 times for 2 touchdowns and 5.1 average. So, I mean, you could make an argument for him to be lower, but also he's Patrick Mahomes, so I got to put him higher. I mean, a lot of these guys, it's like when you watch them, they're better. And in 6th, you've got Dak Prescott. I got to give this to him. I'm a big hater of him, but I got to tell you, he can move. He can run. I know this especially because on that Thanksgiving game 2 years ago, you've probably seen the play. It was like top 100 this year. It was like top 100 of the decade or whatever. Not top 100 this year. He like ran backwards, and I thought, yes, we're going to sack him. We're going to show everybody that we're good. And then he ran in for a touchdown. I don't even want to talk about how he's good. I don't like talking about how he's good. 52 attempts. He maintained a 5.3 average, 277 yards, blah, and 3 touchdowns. Yeah, good stats, whatever. Not in the top 5, though. That was the weirdest thing I've ever said. And in 5th, no one's going to hear this anyways. You're not hearing this. No one is. I could get 50 views. No one is hearing this. I'm talking to nobody. But hey, I'm going to keep on talking. And then the Giants, we've got Daniel Jones, who has a 6.2 average, which is amazing. He only ran 45 times, but he managed to get 279 yards with only running 45 times. And he got 2 touchdowns. No one ever talks about that, but run, dude. He's not a very good quarterback, but man, can he run. And in 4th, we've got DeAndre Hopkins in here. Not DeAndre Hopkins, Deshaun Watson. My bad. Yeah, I got them mixed up. The big thing that's keeping him up here, he had a 5-yard average, which you might be thinking, why is he up here? I mean, that's good, but it's not 4th place good. It's because in 82 times that he ran, 82 attempts, he got 7 touchdowns. That's good. That's good for a running back number. You want 7 touchdowns. Good job, Deshaun Watson. And in 3rd, you've got Kyler Murray. Last year, he showed off the fact that he is a running quarterback. I think the Cardinals are real underdogs this year. He got 4 touchdowns, and in 93 attempts, he maintained a 5.8 average. Now, that is skill right there. He ran almost 100 times. He had over 500 yards. I mean, spectacular. And in 2nd, you already know who's in 1st. But maybe he's in 2nd, huh? Nah. We got Josh Allen all the way up at 2nd. He ran 109 times and maintained a 4.7 average. Now, that's good in itself. And he also got 9 touchdowns. 9. That's crazy. I mean, you'd have to have some pretty good stats to beat him. I wonder who did. Of course, it's Lamar Jackson. Who the heck else could come even close to this spectacular? He ran 176 times and managed to get a 6.9 average. He almost has a 7-yard average. This man is almost getting an average of a first down. His average is almost a first down. That's crazy. I mean, it's 3 yards off, but I mean, it's insanely higher. He had 1,206 yards, which is far above what most running backs have. I mean, it's always like a milestone. Like, yes, anytime a running back gets 1,000 yards, people talk about how good they are. Freaking Christian McCaffrey barely got 1,000 yards, and a quarterback is getting 1,000 yards, and he also has 7 touchdowns. So I mean, congratulations, Josh Allen. You have more touchdowns, whatever, but still, you don't beat Lamar Jackson. This man is the number 1 quarterback. He's the number 1 rushing quarterback. He's the number 1 freaking defensive lineman. He's the number 1 safety. He's a punter. I don't know. He's a coach. He's everything. He's the Ravens. Of course, I was joking about most of them. I don't actually think that he's a punter. Don't come at me. Some of y'all have told me some weird things for some jokes I've made. I'm telling you, it was a joke. Okay, I don't actually know. I don't actually think he's a punter. Anyways, I'm stressed. I had a lot of work to do today. But anyways, Thank you for watching this. You're amazing, spectacular, absolutely amazing if you're still watching this. Pretty short video. So, I'll see you in the next one, hopefully.
Won't you